Yeah, and also the lack of when he says, don't you get it?
Yeah.
I mean, when he says that, that means you don't get it. And it's a bit like that. Why, Steve, you're 64 years old. What on earth are you worried about? I mean, I got you to 64. Take a look around you. Hello, you got friends, you got family. What is it you're not getting about this? About my goodness and my grace and that when you believe, have I ever let you down? Have you ever placed your faith in me and I have not accompanied you through whatever you needed to go through? I mean, come on. Mark is recording a Jesus that we don't normally see. I'm not saying that he was angry or harsh, and I'm not saying he's just like, but you've seen this every day. How is it you still don't understand? And he's basically saying, the condition of your heart, you believe with your heart, you confess with your mouth. Faith is a heart condition. It's not head knowledge, it's not scribe Pharisee stuff. It's a heart condition. The disciples, something's wrong in the scenario. We know that for sure. Something's definitely wrong. We don't know what yet, but Mark is clear about recording these words of Jesus. He tells the crowd, them, whoever, he just says, bring him to me. Now, I hear that, and it's like, all I can hear is this. He wants to involve us in whatever he wants to do. Because, see, he could have walked over to where the kid's foaming at the mouth in front of him. That we've already said, so there's a problem. It's right there in front of him. There's no reason why Jesus can't just walk to where he is or stand where he is and do whatever he's going to do. But he says to them, bring him to me. Now, again, I've got no access to Grindwood Church, but I don't know how many people think, if I could just get so-and-so to church, got to get him to house group, got to get him every place but to Jesus. And he says, bring him to me. To me, that's a commissioning. That's all I'm asking you to do. All I'm asking, whether it's in prayer, whatever it might be, bring them to me. Can you do that? Would you do that? Bring them to me. That's all he says. And by the way, it's just because I want to involve you in what I'm going to do. A little bit of a commissioning. As the Father sent me, and he was always with me, and I'm sending you, and I'll always be with you. We're going to do this thing together. Let's continue on. Verses 21 and 22.
And he asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? And he said, from childhood. And it has often thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us.
The guy's if comes before Jesus's does. If you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us, depending on which translation you read, if you can do anything. But Jesus asks a question. How long has this been going on? If you want to believe that he didn't know, then you can believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Jesus was really interested in how long this has been going on. And then he asked this question from out of nowhere. How long has this been going on? And the Father says, since childhood, and describes what's been going on since childhood. I see three things revolving around why did he ask this question. This is where I usually stop, full stop in my reading and prayer life. What? Does it make a difference? Is it pertinent? What's the point? With Jesus we're talking about now. Since childhood, number one to me means it's not the kid's fault. It's been going on all his life. Do you remember in John 9 when they passed the blind guy? Who sinned, him or his father? Always wanting to play the blame-shame game. Our sin fixation. Who sinned? Can you cope with the fact that there's something going on here that wasn't invited? That is nobody's fault? This little kid didn't do it. It's not like an adult or somebody who, he went out with the boys the other night and then he came home and after that he's been weird. Then there might be something the kid was... See, this right away for Jesus becomes really important. How long? His whole life. Okay, so all fault finders, please sit down and shut up. Because this kid has done nothing wrong. He did not invite the Spirit in or anything like that. Number one, we've settled that. Number two, a lifetime is a long time. Since a child, we don't know how old the kid was, but the indication by the Greek word that's used was that he was older than 10 or 12, probably a teenager. It's been a long time, and I haven't seen any change. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've had any situations that have gone on for a long time, I mean a long time. I'm not talking about a couple of days, a week, a month, although those can be long times. I mean a long time. Time has a way of wearing you down, especially when you're trying to stay in faith. And there is nothing about this guy that's not in faith. When he says later on, Lord, I believe, he means it. I've been in faith. I've come to you. I'm in faith. But I got to be honest with you, it's been a long time. It's been a long road. And time has a way of wearing you down, and doubt and despair start to creep in. Is it possible, if you can do anything? That question reveals, for all of us that would like to look at this guy and say, well, look at him, help my own, this kind of thing. He wipes that right out until you've dealt with something for years and years, and you can identify with this guy and say, it's been a long time and I'm holding on, but I got to be honest with you, it's by a thread. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. I still have a hope. I still have hope for things. And I still have faith. My faith is the substance of those things that I'm hoping for. But I got to be honest with you. I'm tired. And it's hard. It's really hard, Lord. Not blaming anybody. See, the question reveals it's been a really long time. But I think most importantly, and I didn't realize it till this last week, until I found, when I was reading and studying and preparing for today, that I found myself just weeping in the story. Because this guy has watched his kid in torment for years and years. You see, the question, it wasn't for Jesus. Most likely not for the crowd. It's the town he lives in. Everybody knows the kid has been ransacked his whole life. Who is he asking the question for? And I'm crying in my office and he asked that question for me. Because see, he's wondering. See, you're reading the story about something that took place. Are you crying yet for this dad and this kid? See, when the Father says, if you could have compassion, I wonder, is he talking to Jesus anymore or Steve? Steve, do you have any compassion for this guy? If you can help, is there anybody I can help? Man, there should be somebody, because there's a lot of suffering people in the valley, and you can help. He's talking to Jesus. Jesus is talking to him. Jesus is talking to me. This guy's talking to Jesus. This guy's talking to me because Jesus is alive in me. It's kind of like this thing I'm experiencing this last week. And I realize the question is really for our benefit for two reasons. One, everyone in this room and anybody who's watching should know it doesn't matter how long somebody's been suffering. It really doesn't matter. Because we know the end of the story because we've heard it before. Jesus is going to deal with it. It doesn't matter. How long? 20 years? 5 minutes. Makes no difference when all things are available by faith. This is just one of the many things that you'll experience that fall into the category of all things. Some of us have been praying for, been believing for years and years. God says, don't stop now. Don't stop now. It doesn't matter how long. We don't know when. We don't know. But we do know that the restorer of all things is here. We know that. We've gone beyond believing it. We know him. And I think it's also, when we hear that question and we hear since a child, we start to well up with compassion as parents, as people. Because to be honest, that situation is not very different than many that we encounter. People around us that have been suffering a long, long time. There's no difference between this kid in the story and the people that we're encountering. And perhaps, have compassion on us. Help us. You can hear the Father. He didn't say, can you have compassion on my son? On us. This guy's suffering. He's not coming right out and saying, I'm falling apart at the seams here. He doesn't have to. And actually, those are two things that we can be compassionate and do help. But Russ, would you go ahead and read verse 23?
Jesus said to him, if you can, all things are possible to him who believes.
Listen to him, not the scribes, not the conference you went to. Listen to him. What did he say? All things are available, and all things are available by faith, if you can believe. We are not talking about mustard seed faith. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can do that. You can tell mulberry trees to be planted. You can move mountains. This is not that. Jesus is not talking to him about if you had mustard seed faith, you could No. All he's saying is if you could believe in me, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. When you believe in me, pow! All things explode. Everything is available. Not mustard seed faith where you can say this or say that. It's faith that I am can help. That's what it's faith in him, that he can help. It's a Mary kind of faith where there's that moment of how can this possibly be? And even after she's told, do you think she understands it? The Holy Spirit's going to come upon you and you'll be, oh yeah, right, okay, I got it. It's obvious she doesn't, because it's just like, well, whatever, let it be. That's where she's coming from. Something has been explained to her, even as I sit here bringing something about all things, and I've had a kind of a revelation, but at the same time, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I do, but I don't. And it doesn't matter, because that's the place we live in, is that place between, I've got something, what is it? I don't know, but I know that Jesus said it, and I know there's something available, and I know that when we believe, all things are possible. We need that Mary faith when the angel says that all things, all things are possible to those who believe. And she says, okay, let it be. I'll work with you in this thing. Use my body. Do what you're going to do. It's what we've got in the valley. We've got faith. We've got the restorer in this valley of decision. The Father, the Son the Father of the Son, makes sure that we hear faith. I believe, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief, which is an interesting way of phrasing it. He's not asking for more faith. And I don't know how many people I've heard preach about more faith. You need more faith. Yeah, Jesus keeps saying, all you need is a mustard seed. It's about this big. You don't need more faith. All you need to do is believe in me. And the doubts that you're having because time has worn you down, they do have to be overcome. The guy, when he says, help my unbelief, this is the second time he's asked for help. Because in the displacing of doubt, faith has room to increase. But it's not the increase of faith we need. It's him. Bottom line, it's him, Jesus. We've got a helper, the Holy Spirit. We can go on with this. We know that Jesus deals with the whole situation, deals with the kid, delivers him. The unclean spirit comes out. Everything's going well. But there's still something that hasn't quite been addressed that Mark is aware of. That actually happened. Verses 28 and 29.
When he had come into the house, his disciples began questioning him privately. Why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, this kind cannot come out by anything but prayer.
So they're interested. I mean, some of us would have to be too if we got just to the end. And it's like, yeah, but why? What was the deal with the disciples? If they were commissioned and they had already done this before, and what is different?